Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. With all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program tonight. Thank you. You know, you're all emanations of the Infinite One, embodiments of the Infinite One. So thank you for joining us this evening. Bring your divine self, the power of your practices and commitment. Thank you. So tonight is going to be a night where we talk more about practices. So before we do that, of course, we start with the opening practices, which is the opening mantras. So we'll be chanting the opening mantras. And of course, they're a way of helping us get out of the mind, right? It's the identification with the mind. It's our enmeshment with the mind that binds our consciousness to the limited vessel of the mind. So all the practices really, as you see, are ways of how to gently or powerfully get the consciousness free from the confines of the limited mind. And mantra is one of the most potent ways of doing that. So we'll start with the opening mantras. Shri Matakali Mahadevi Ki Jai Gajananambo Tanganari Sevitam Kapita Jambo Palacharakshanam Umasutam Shokam Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Parapankajam Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Shri Ganeshayan Namaha Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamandaya Purnamevavashishate Om Shanti 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 Shri Matakali Mahadevi Ki Jai. And once again, with all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. So we get to talk about practice, and I was thinking about, meditation, the practice of meditation. In some ways it's very simple, in some ways it's extraordinarily challenging, challenging for the mind, and that's what we're always dealing with. And, tonight I think is number 81 or 82, something like that, of our Zoom satsangs. And we've just been celebrating our 20th year of Anamkara, offering meditation programs, weekly programs, retreats, etc. And as I was looking back, I went, when did I actually start? And my teacher asked me to start teaching, and it was in 1976. I didn't want to teach. Actually, my teacher said that was one of the best qualifications. But that's when I began. I'd been practicing for several years and training, and started offering programs. And so that is, that's 45 years ago plus. So a lot of meditation, a lot of practice, a lot of effort for meditation to become effortless. and and it's interesting that it takes so much to discover how meditation is effortless. Because the state of meditation, well, the state of meditation is already there. That's why meditation itself really is effortless. So what's the efforting about? Well, it's about the mind, of course. That's what it's all about, all the time when we come back to looking at practices. And in the last, couple of decades, with neurophysiological research being done on meditators, there's also research that's shown, the difference between long-term meditators, even monks who have been meditating for 20, 30, 40 years, and novice meditators. You can see the difference in their neurophysiology even of how the brain efforts, and that there's so much more efforting going on as people begin the meditative practices, and at the end, how much more it's become effortless. So it's nice to know that. It's nice to know that all this efforting of the mind isn't going to be a continuous part of the path. So we can look forward to that diminishing and the state of meditation being more and more easily accessed, more and more naturally accessed. Because the state of meditation is continuous, right? And we're used to ordinary mind states, and they're discontinuous, right? The waking state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, these are the three states that we're most familiar with and experience every day, hopefully, if we're sleeping well enough. And they're discontinuous. You're awake in a state, you're not in the dream state. If you're in the dream state, you're not in the deep sleep state. We can see that as changes neurophysiologically as well as our experience of those different states. Right? But meditation as a state both transcends and subsumes, envelops all three states of consciousness. So this unique fourth state, talked about as Turiya in the yoga tradition, this fourth state that our practices are aimed at being able to get us to, that's a continuous state. Now, what is the obstacle to knowing that really is the mind. And in a sense, it's really not the mind, it's our identification with the mind. Right? We're identified with the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the memories, the roles we play, all the stuff that we talk about all the time, that you move through from the moment you wake up in the morning, throughout the day, and really even to be able to shift out of the waking state takes a certain letting go. Right? If we don't let go of all the things we're identified with, caught up in, concerned about, excited about, whatever throughout the day, if we can't let those go, we can't enter even that shift of state into the sleep state. And it's interesting that all the different shifts, those liminal periods, the between periods, between different states, involve a kind of letting go. Even if it's on a physiological level, going from dream state into deep sleep state, there's changes in neurophysiological and physiological activity. There's letting go of what goes with the dream state to enter the deep sleep state. So the yogis exploring these states of consciousness saw, well, yeah, and that letting go also applies to being able to shift out of any of those three states into the meditative state. Because we usually think we just go into meditation from the waking state, because that's our typical experience of that. Truth is, as meditation expands and we get to experience how it's enveloping more and more all the states of consciousness, we can enter and find consciousness entering the meditative state from the dream state. We can find consciousness entering the meditative state, the state of consciousness, even in the deep sleep state, so that we're aware of the ordinary mind and body in those other states, and we're aware of that boundlessness of consciousness. That, knowing that, that's the heart of the meditative state. But, the mind in a sense, it's an organ of grasping. It's analogous to the hand. The hand's an organ of grasping and doing. But the hand wouldn't be very good if all it did was clench itself and hold on tight. And the mind isn't much use if it only clenches things and holds on tight. But it has that quality to it. It keeps grasping and holding. And that's why it's often referred to even as the monkey mind, because in the image of a monkey going through the branches of trees, it clings to one branch and won't let go until the other one's right in reach, or it has a hold of it. And that's the mind. It goes from thought to thought, feeling to feeling, sensation to sensation, roles about this and things that it's engaged in. And so the monkey mind is constantly grasping, constantly grasping. In fact, grasping was a hard-won skill. Teaching the mind, having the mind develop that ability to grasp, to hold an idea, to hold a concept, to hold physical reality. We can see this in the maturational process of an infant from birth onward, as they start to be able to both explore their world physically and their powers of locomotion and grasping, but also mentally, how they can begin to hold things and hold it even when it disappears. That there's a thing called object constancy that develops, that an infant can start to get that, if you hide the ball didn't just disappear, it's still there, right? So that kind of development of the mind's ability to grasp and hold is both hard-won and highly prized. It's what allows us to be functional. It allows us to be optimally functional in the waking state. We have to have that ability to both let go and hold on, but those are qualities that the mind has developed and is not going to just set aside because we say, there's this really great state you could go visit. You could go visit meditation. There's one caveat. You're going to have to give up all that. And mind's gone, no. I need that grasping, that holding on. And part of how it holds things is to identify with them. That's a way of holding on to a quality. Become identified with it, right? Inhabit it. Think I am that thing. I am that feeling. I am that sensation. I am that thought. I am that role. That's how I keep it going, right? All of that. Poor mind. So we have to treat the mind with tremendous patience and compassion, because it's holding on to part of what is its essential nature. So it's clinging to itself. And so whether it's in the Buddhist tradition or yogic tradition, we talk about self-cherishing, self-clinging. This is a deep and fundamental component of how the mind operates. So it doesn't just give up and let things go. So when we're working with the mind and trying to train it to let go, we have to also give it things to hold on to that don't have the same limitations, the same dangers that go with what it's ordinarily identified with. Right? So think of it, think again of a small child loving to grab a hold of things and play with them and shake them up and see what it can do with it and bangs them. You think of a little infant, they got to try everything. They got to bang it, I'm going to chew on it, I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. That's their mind and body learning appropriately, developmentally, what to do. So now, if the infant reached for something that was dangerous, we'd go, no, here's that rattle, makes so much, and look at it, shiny too. And go, oh yeah, shiny, rattle, noise, this is good. In many ways, I think of meditation practices as being those kinds of things we give the mind along the way to help it let go of what it's ordinarily clinging to and give it something that is going to help it start to move beyond just clinging in identification with its habitual patterns. So we give it different ways to be able to start to transform that. We also are training the mind in meditation to come to the awareness of, as we're letting go of the ordinary identifications, with a simple sense of being, right? Because so much of what the mind is doing, whether it's consciously doing it, or it's sort of the subconscious identification with something, it's I am whatever. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm happy, I'm sad. All the stuff that comes after I am is what the mind finds important to hold on to, and part of how it holds on to it is to identify it. I am that. It's not just this passing thing. No, I want that. I want it to stay around. I'm going to become that. I'm going to identify with that. I am that, right? But the that's are always very limited. They're always transient. So inherent to that is some suffering and some forced letting go as some of those things disappear. But we can see that we're also training the mind of how it can start to gently let go of those various things that it grasps and holds on to and identifies with, to come to a simple awareness of I am. Because a part of all our experience of having become something is that I am awareness. Then goes into I am happy, I am sad, I am this, I am that, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm overweight, whatever I am. Let go, let go. So I want you to take a moment now and just close your eyes and bring your awareness to the breath. Just feeling the breath coming in and going out. Not having to do anything with it. You might sit a little bit more comfortably upright so it feels like your awareness is a little clearer. But essentially you're just using your attention, your awareness, to feel the breath coming in and going out. And then I want you to add to that awareness the awareness of, and it's going to be a shortened form of a mantra we've done before, and it's related to the Hamsa mantra, which means I am that, but the I am is just aham, aham, aham. Simply means I am. It's a part of the great mantra of one of the Mahavakyas, the great statements that comes out of the Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi. I am the infinite. I am the boundless one. But even Brahman, or Brahmasmi, I am that, has concepts, has things engaged with it. So we want to just come to the simple aham, right? And so experience, as you're just watching the breath, come in with the sound ah, silently in your mind, and going out with the sound hum. Coming in with the sound ah, and going out with the sound hum. It's almost like you're imagining that, right? The breath is coming in as ah. It's going out with the sound hum. The simple awareness of I am. It's a bare awareness. Right? It's a simple, bare awareness. I am. You can even just use those two syllables. I am. Ah, hum. I am. You're just letting your attention rest on the awareness of I am. Ah, hum. Other things may arise in the mind, but you're staying with the sensation of the breath coming in and going out, and that simple sound of I am. Ah, hum. Just watching that awareness. The awareness of simply being. I am is simply being. I am is bare awareness of simply being. Just that sense of being. other things may come up, and you just go, oh, that's the mind. Back to I am. Sensation may come up, just the body. Come back to I am. Ah, I am. Training the awareness that it can have that simple presence of being awareness, separate from anything else, whether it's something of the mind, something of the body, something that seems outside, something that seems inside. They're all irrelevant. We're just resting over and over again in that bare awareness. I am. Ah, Just continuing. I am. Ah, And now, let go of even the Let go of the I am. Now it's just awareness. Simple, bare awareness. Awareness of simply being. The bare awareness. Watching. 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 Whatever arises in the sky of awareness as mind. It's not who you are. It's simply aware, simply present, simply watching. There may be nothing to watch. There may be many things to watch. The seer who's watching. The seer, the bare awareness. Being, watching. Being, knowing. Being, awareness. The seer who's never seen. Being, knowing. Being, awareness. Bare awareness. Simply watching. Just inhabiting, knowing, continuing to watch. You watch. All the mind and senses have to offer. You watch. Bare awareness. Unshakable awareness. The awareness that sees, but isn't seen. Watching the mind. Bare awareness. Seeing the habits of the mind, including the habit of identifying. Identifying with whatever arises. Simply a habit of mind. You keep watching. Watching. Simply being. Turning awareness on awareness itself. You may notice being, awareness, being, knowing is unbounded. It's infinite awareness, infinite being. being the seer, not the seen. The mind and its contents, including the body, are what's seen. The seer is that bare awareness, watching, unmoved by movements of the mind, being the knower, unmoved by movements of the body, being awareness, being knowing, simply being. Being, the fullness of being, the unbounded nature of being, sees with perfect equanimity, watches from a place of loving compassion, the being who sees all as itself, being awareness. Now even as you prepare to open your eyes and continue to watch, continue to witness, continue to be aware of simply being, the being who's watching the mind as it perceives whatever it does through its eyes, its ears, its various senses. It's the mind. The seer sees the mind. It's an instrument of its own self for knowing these limitations. You see from the place of the true seer. This is what Buddha was talking about in the Heart Sutra. Watching the five skandhas. These are just the ways of describing what arises in the ordinary consciousness of mind. But watching from Buddha mind, from Shiva consciousness, from Shivoham, I am that. Sa, I am all that is. Being the seer. It also empowers you to see the mind and how it automatically, compulsively identifies with whatever is arising. Unless it's something it doesn't want to identify, then it compulsively pushes it away. Two sides of the same coin. Just watching, seeing. Seeing how the mind is constantly dressing and undressing itself. Dressing itself in this identity. Getting tired of that, letting it go. Dressing itself in another identity. Putting on this cloak, taking off that cloak. Putting on another cloak. Seeing how the mind is also a novelty-seeking instrument. It quickly gets bored. It wants novelty. So it keeps looking for new things to become. These are certain dynamics we're always working with as meditators. The compulsive mind and its habit of identification. Also, its compulsive way of constantly seeking novelty, seeking stimulus. Something every meditator confronts. When you sit and close your eyes or just look down and keep your glance steady, we start out doing it in an environment that reduces all the sensory input as a way of helping support our effort to shift consciousness out of its habitual identification and clinging to sensory experience, so it can get to know what's beyond the confines of that. As infinitely variable as that domain of the mind is, it's terribly limited. And the boundlessness, the infinitude of consciousness, that is the fullness of that bare awareness, that being awareness, dwarfs anything the mind can know, perceive, engage. But its novelty seeking is part of also what drives all the different practices. If it weren't so demanding, the mind is demanding. Right? Oh, I'm getting tired of that mantra. Can we do a different mantra? I'm getting tired of sitting like that. Can I sit like this? Can I lay down? Can I stand up? Can I move? Can I do something else? Can I have an eating meditation? Can I have a chocolate meditation? What are all the things the mind would love to entertain itself with? What about visions? Oh, can I have a vision? I want visions. Gosh, we can talk about goddesses and gods and Buddhas of different realms, all these things that the mind can now begin to get interested in exploring. Well, they're like the enticements for that little child. Say, no, don't play with this one, it's dangerous. Play with this one, it's a little less dangerous. But ultimately, all those forms have to be left behind. But they start being something that helps the mind to let go of its ordinary habitual ways of identifying, engaging, getting caught, and it gives them some new ones. And it can become equally identified and equally caught in those. Right? I remember hearing two people arguing over, these great forms of the infinite from the Hindu tradition, Shiva and Vishnu. And these two people are arguing, who's the greater God, Shiva or Vishnu? It's like, what? What? What the mind won't turn into something to get identified with, contracted about, then have to defend its identity and connection to, and it'll do that to anything. So we have to keep training it to let go. And it starts to get, okay, that was a step of letting go of all these things. We gave it something enticing over here. Now you can't get identified there. You have to let that go too. Right? So we have to keep training the mind. Detach and let go. Detach and let go. The boundlessness of simply being can't be known within the confines of any identity the mind constructs. It's so hard for the poor mind. It says, no, I'm sure I have the power to wrap it up in some concept, some idea, some form that will be eternal. No, sorry, all forms. They're all ephemeral. The most sublime doesn't matter. They're all ephemeral. And no one form, really, in essence, is any more divine than another form. The mind wants to be convinced that, this experience of a chakra, that's so much more divine than this ordinary world. No, a leaf falling off a tree in autumn is every bit as divine as any goddess or god you may see in this or that chakra, or this or that vision, or this or that painting. All forms are born of the same consciousness. All forms are her form. All forms are your form. This is where meditation goes. That helps the mind, because it wants to know that it's going to be able to still participate. And even the form of the ordinary mind, even in all its limitations, in all its contractedness, it too it too is an emanation of the One. Everything about who you are, everything about your mind, your body, is an emanation of the divine. And the more we come to know that, the more then this vehicle of mind and body comes to reflect that highest truth, rather than the contracted illusions and delusions that the ordinary mind inhabits, flails about in suffering, inflicting suffering on itself and others. The only way out of that is to come to know the infinite as our own self, our own being, knowing, beyond words and forms. So then we then get to see all forms are our own self. All forms. God only sees himself. We come to know that directly. It's not just a statement from St. John of the Cross, or echoed in every sage and saint from every tradition, that all there is the One. So all our practices, from the time we start off as novice meditators dealing with the mind, well, all the practices are about dealing with the mind, letting it go, inviting it to let go, invite it to be quiet, so that it can participate in a whole other level of consciousness, until finally it's left behind. Because in the purest domains of that boundless awareness, the mind has dissolved entirely. The little ray of consciousness that has made up the mind has circled back and dissolved once again into the self-luminous one, the sun. The brilliance symbolizes the thousand lights. That light of consciousness pervades all. To know that, that's the fruit of practice. And then going beyond even practice. The mind still practices. We realize that consciousness itself, it's beyond all practice. Your consciousness doesn't need to practice. It's not bound. It's free. The practices and steadiness, those are for the mind. And then it's transformed into a better conduit, a better servant for the infinite one, our own self, and its emanation as body and mind come to reflect the light of the infinite more clearly. That's why it's often talked about as polishing the mirror of the mind. What's it going to reflect? The infinite one. Simply being awareness, being the truth of who you are. That's the invitation of meditation. In all times, in all places. It is always present, always available. Meditation is the state of the infinite. The waking, dream, and deep sleep states are states of mind and body. The state of the infinite is that state of meditation that subsumes the three states of mind and body and transcends them to the infinitude of pure being. Know that, rest in that, live in that, walk that into the world. That's how we can walk the boundlessness that Buddha talked about, of the boundless compassion, the boundless wisdom, the boundless joy, and the boundless equanimity. These are the qualities of our own true nature. The mind can try to mimic them, but it'll always be under duress trying to do that. But if it lets go, then it can be flooded with that coming through from your own highest nature. So that's why we practice. And that's where we wind up. So we're going to now do a chant as a practice to help invite the mind to let go of its ordinary ways, to enter this throb of the infinite that is mantra, right? The throb of Om Kalima, Kali Durga, Namo Nama, Om Kalima, the mother of all, right? The one who gives birth to all. Out of that mysterious darkness, mysterious to the mind, luminous to your true knowing, your true being. Out of that emerges all of creative forms, boundless in their nature. Enter the source and know it all, delight in it all, revel in it all, and live it into the world. So now we'll be chanting. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah, Kali Durga Namo Namah. Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Kali Durga Namo Namah Kali Durga Namo Namah Om Kali Ma Om Kali Ma Kali Durga Namo Namah Lin Durga Namo Namah Om Kali Ma Om Kali Ma Kali Durga Namo Namah Kali Durga Namo Resting in that bare awareness, a simple awareness of pure being. I am. Without even any words or thoughts, being boundless and free, always present. Take refuge in that. Rest in that. Know that. And you know meditation. You know the state of your own sublime self. Hum. Namo Namah. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. Kali Durga Namo Namah. Kali Durga Namo So we end with this prayer that may all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. And namaste. To know complete freedom from suffering is to know that ground of our being, that boundless awareness, that unshakable equanimity that is the very nature of that awareness. It's boundless compassion, it's boundless wisdom. That's the boundless knowing. It's being knowing itself. Not knowing something, knowing. That pure power of consciousness that knows itself as all it has become and all that's beyond becoming. Know that, and we know freedom from suffering. So once again, with all my heart, all my love, I want to thank you for joining us this evening, for coming and bringing your divine presence, the power of commitment that you have, the power of the practices that you do, and being those who walk that into the world, walk the consciousness that becomes freer, wider, more expansive with practice. It has always been given to the world. Thank you. Thank you for being ones who do that. That's the true selfless service. Right? Bring wisdom, compassion, love, joy, kindness into this world. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you next week.